Hello everybody, welcome to What Culture Gaming. I am Scott and I'm joined by Ben.
Hello.
And you've been playing What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yes, this is a unique first impressions in that normally when we do a first impressions video it's because the game has come out and we haven't had a chance to do the full review yet, but we are playing it. What Remains of Edith Finch is about 2 hours long. I have finished it,
Okay.
I just haven't had a chance to do the review yet.
Right.
It's really good.
Because, just for a little bit of background, we kind of did this video in this manner where I haven't played it. I actually know almost next to nothing about this game.
Okay.
Because I imagine that a lot of the audience members don't either. But it is from the guys that did The Unfinished Swan.
Yes.
The developer's called Giant Sparrow, which is like...
There's some footage of it.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It's really gorgeous. It's kind of this really minimalist style. Is that, like... Actually, yeah, being that I know nothing about Edith Finch, can you give us like a couple of sentences summary as to what it is and why the hell do we care?
Okay, so to give a little bit more background, it's often, it's kind of a derogatory term, but walking sim, which I think has kind of been reclaimed now by people who like those sorts of games. They're very, as you said, quite minimal games where you largely walk around and interact with things like museums, basically. They tell you a story as you go to them, quite short.
We never got like an actual, the industry never gave those games a proper label.
No, I went on Wikipedia, it's like 3D first-person adventure.
Interactive fiction.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, because I love all those games, like Gone Home, Everybody's Gone the Rapture, Firewatch, like all those kind of things. Immediately a lot of people run to the hills when they hear that style of game.
No guns, no wall running, no sliding about in this game.
But Edith Finch is another one of them.
It's another one of those. I love these kinds of games every now and then because I think they're such good sort of palate cleansers.
Yeah.
2 hour experience in and out, usually a very good story because of the nature of the game and because you're not sprinting through it with a gun or whatever. You're able to view these expertly crafted rooms and
you can really take it in. That's kind of,
and there's so much environmental storytelling in those games as well.
So what's the basic sort of pitch for
What Remains of Edith Finch? She is 18. She is returning to her family home after a 7-year absence.
A bit Gone Home-ish.
Yes, this is basically Gone Home and The Unfinished Swan had a baby. So The Unfinished Swan obviously is a mother telling her child a bedtime story, right?
Yes.
As she's saying things, the words are sort of like printed on the walls.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, you guys, you unfold. There's lots of different fancy illustrations. A bit Roald Dahl-ish, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's in that similar vein. So as you're walking through, Edith Finch is who you are, and she's narrating from her journal as she's going back to her family home because when her mum died, she left her a key to the house. And when she lived there, loads of the rooms were sealed off because basically her, like 3 or 4 generations of her family have lived in that house, but each of them had their own room. So when they died, because they've got sort of this self-prescribed curse that's, you've got to find out what it is basically, where a lot of the children have very short, tragic lives, and they've all died off one by one. Her great-grandmother and mother, who lived in the house with her, basically just sealed off their rooms. She was never allowed in them.
Because of the curse.
Because well, you don't know. You don't know. It sets itself up as very spooky, but you don't need to worry about that if you don't like horror games, basically. And you're basically having Edith Finch narrate her experience going through the house and remembering things like, it's just exactly like I remember and so on. But as she speaks, the words are imprinted on the scenery around you.
Nice.
So as you're walking through, like the camera will swing up and as the things she's saying will be appearing on the skyline or whatever. That's
an unused thing. I remember it was in Splinter Cell Conviction, now it's in Persona 5, now it's in Edith Finch. It's more text on the walls, please.
It's great. I love the text on the walls.
So, because Outlast 2's out quite soon as well, is there anything about Edith Finch that sort of taps into like the horror mentality, or is it more about exploration and
I would say if you played Gone Home, which was about exploring an empty house, that was infinitely more atmospheric and quite spooky. And in a similar vein, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture in terms of working your way through these abandoned houses, and there's just
1 mile an hour,
blood everywhere. 1 mile an hour. Yeah, that's another thing. You don't need. There's no run button, but you don't need it because it funnels you through the house. But you want to know what happens next. So, for example, the key that you get isn't even for the front door. You actually sneak into the house through like a doggy door in the side, and the key is in. There's only one bedroom that's open, basically. And there's a book in there with a key, because your granddad built the house and he was a bit mental, basically. You put the key in the book, you unlock it, the book opens and it reveals a handle, and you pull the handle and it opens a secret hatch.
It's okay,
so
right.
you can go through into the next into someone else's room that's sealed.
So it's not like a ground. I mean, obviously you mentioned a curse before and whatever. So, but it's not even attempting to be like a grounded. This could actually happen realistic thing. It's definitely like about dreamscapes and getting lost in like.
Not so much dreamscapes necessarily. Like it opens up into a hatch and then there's a little. Basically just a crawl space through into the next room. So your grandfather was obsessed with, you know, making crazy stuff basically. Okay. So there's all this sort of stuff littered throughout the house. And each room you go into, it tells a little story about the person whose room it was. Because Edith was never told these stories, you start to discover actually it's not so much about a scary curse as it is about people trying to deal with and overcome heartbreak and loss and suffering and all that kind of stuff, and it's really touching in a way. And each of these rooms, as I said, is about a particular member of the family who died. And she's in her journal as you go through. It's got a family tree, but it's just got names. And as you go tick off all of these rooms, basically there's a small sketch of the person as you go through. But each of these experiences of her working out who these people are is a completely unique sort of gameplay thing. So the first one is about a 10-year-old girl called Molly. Okay. And she is, I don't want to go any further than this because some of them are amazing. Okay. And she reads a journal entry from her from 1947 when she was sent to bed without having any dinner. Right. And suddenly the screen goes all wobbly and then you're Molly in the same room, and it's very Stanley Parable-ish where it's like, I was so hungry, and you go to the gerbil's cage and you eat some gerbil things, but I still had to eat more.
Can you betray the narrator?
No, you can't. You can't. Unfortunately not. No, not like the Stanley Parable.
I know that's not the kind of game that it is, but
it's not. No.
Reminded me of Stanley Parable is like one of the best things about that is doing that.
But then you go into the bathroom and there's toothpaste, and she said, I ate all the toothpaste, and then you walk back into the room and says, but then I heard a bird at the window. And so you look at the window, there's a bird, you go up to it, you open it, and then you turn into a cat. And you start to chase and then, because in her diary she said, and then I turned into a cat, then I turned into an owl, and I saw rabbits, and all the time you're controlling the owl, and then I was a shark, and it just goes,
okay, now this has all come full circle, and I know exactly what this game is. I haven't seen this in a while, but yeah, I know what this is now.
So then, you know, you tick her off, and basically it's about, as I said, finding out about each of her family members, and, you know, the sad ways that they died, and the basically the holes that they left in the family. And because all the rooms are sealed off, they're like little museums to each member of the family who died. And some of the little things that you're meant to do, so one of them is you're controlling a kite, one of them is you're just taking photos, but each time you take a photo, a bit more of the story comes out. It's very clever how it does it.
I love the idea of this.
And then in the real world, obviously, Edith Finch is like, why didn't my mum tell me these stories? I always wanted to know these stories. Yeah,
but you do find out, assumedly.
You make your way up to the top of the house, basically, because as more members of the Finch family lived there, they just sort of started building this rickety tower with more rooms on
Lemony
top.
Snicket.
Exactly. It's a series of unfortunate events in terms of some of the cruel ways that some of them died, but equally, very compelling, very linear, very focused. You don't go more than a couple of seconds without some voiceover or plot continuation pushing you forwards or anything. I thought it was really, really good.
I like the idea of taking like any studio that does a way more focused thing. Of just like we have a specific story to tell with specific things you want to reveal to the player at specific times, and they just go through it. So, I mean, it's only a couple of hours, so ostensibly it's like a playable movie.
It kind of is, yeah. But I honestly found several bits of it very touching, very moving, and I thought that's a testament to how they've managed to do the storytelling. And I think you were saying to me before we came in, Giant Sparrow, who made this game, it's only their second game.
Yeah, which is crazy.
A real sort of, I think, a moment that will define them, because it is one of the better walking sims that I've played. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is my favourite, and I loved Gone Home, and I think this is better than Gone Home.
Oh God!
And I think it is Gone Home.
Better than Gone Home?
Gone Home, combined with several other aspects, and I think it's brilliant. I hope people play it.
I mean, I'm going to play through it as well, especially because it's nice and short, so we can just get through it. Depending on how everyone takes to it, I mean, you know, the walking simulator genre doesn't tend to get as much love as it perhaps should. Yeah. If it gets enough buzz around it, we might do like a little spoiler talk about it or something. Yeah. Because it sounds like it might be a little bit interpretational.
It has,
based on how it goes.
It has a couple of little issues there. There are some, particularly in the opening section when you're walking to the house, you're outside, there's lots of trees, there's quite a fair bit of frame rate slowdown, which was a bit of a shame, but once you get the house, it's fine. You probably. There was some quite obtuse stuff with the controls. At no point does it tell you the controls, but you very quickly start to understand.
Well, literally, it's just run.
It's move, but it's like the right trigger to grab stuff, and then sometimes it's not obvious which direction you're meant to be moving your hand to open things, because there's nothing on the screen, and there's a couple of dreams where, for example, you're on a swing, and I was using the left stick to swing back and forth, but it took me ages to realise that the left stick was only controlling my left leg. And I was like, oh, so I got to do it with both.
That sounds.
It took me ages to work that out, though. So there's a couple of small issues that might rub people up the wrong way, but it's
depending on
largely great.
If you either went, oh, that's really cool, or you went, what?
Yeah.
You know if you're going to like that game or not.
Well, I went what, and I still loved the game. So I think people should give it a go if they're remotely interested in something that's just different.
I just love like any unique mechanics like that are always really, really cool. That's really good. I mean, I guess we'll have to sort of check back with your full review.
Yeah, I'm hoping I haven't set the bar too high for you there, because it's probably
Better than Gone Home is.
I know it may not live up to you in that regard. I didn't play Gone Home until it came to PS4, so ages after it came out initially.
Oh, that was such a wave maker back in 2013.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent step in the right direction for whatever you want to call this genre, because it does combine several elements of the best ones. We'll come up with a name for the discussion that we have.
Yes,
should be coming out on Tuesday.
It'll be out very soon.
Yes, this week at least, and our review will follow shortly after as well. But hopefully you give it a go, and I hope people like it.
It's one of those things that you recommend to somebody kind of off like a vague recommendation. Like if you give someone Fight Club for the first time, it's I'll just go. You'll get there. Just check it out. Like I like the idea that I'm not saying Edith Finch is like Fight Club, but there's maybe enough to it where you don't want to spoil the best parts of it. You want people to experience it.
I don't want to spoil any parts for it for anyone, but it is kind of like a. It's silly because if it's, and we can save this for the get more in depth when we have a discussion next time, but it is silly because of the genre of game. If you try and describe it to someone, and like, if I was going to play a game, I wouldn't play a game like that. Yeah. But equally, if you described the plot and said it's a TV show, they'd be like, oh, that does sound interesting. Right. And there's a weird disconnect there where it's in sort of a no man's land that some people don't take it seriously. It's like it's a shame.
I mean, like in the next few weeks especially, like, we've got Edith Finch, we've got Outlast 2, and we've got Little Nightmares. Like 3 kind of macabre style games that are all doing variations on like different takes on horror. And like something like Outlast 2 is way more action focused than the first one, judging by the trailers and what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
But I guess if you liked slow crawl horror like Resident Evil 7, and you're looking at Outlast 2. I don't know that Edith Finch is necessarily a horror, but there are like some similarities in terms of tone, in terms of the way that the game looks. Yeah. That maybe is a nice pivot from one to the other. What I'm saying is give it a shot.
Yes.
Because this genre does not get love.
Please give it a go.
It needs love.
They need to make money off it. It's great. and our full review, as I said, will be out hopefully this week at some point. So,
yes.
There we go.
So, thank you guys all very much. We will check back very soon. I have been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Ben from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll see you soon.